Greetings, friends. It's me, Wayman29. Sorry about the lighting issue here. It's kind of dark. I come on to reply to Razua77 and his video, Genesis 1 False, Unholy Commentary. And Razua, I see from the comments, is serving in South Korea for our country, and I can appreciate that. And he's a Yankees fan, and my grandfather, before he passed on for years, was a Yankees fan, and he listened to all the games on the radio, so I ended up becoming a Yankees fan. He comes talking about Genesis 1, and I just want to add something and bring out some points on how it should not be just easily dismissed based on his view. And I'm not trying to change his mind about anything. I'm just trying to add something here and possibly have him reconsider the text, because I appreciate literature. I study world religion and anthropology, and I understand somewhat about how the metaphor transforms and how people express themselves abstractly, and how when a text on the surface seems to say one thing, it's good to study the background, the social, political, economic, and cultural aspects of the time period that it was written in. And so that's what I'm going to try to do here. Sorry if I get blabbing too much and get off track, but I'm going to go through Genesis 1, try to put it in some kind of context. First of all, Genesis 1 is part of the primeval history, it's called. It's the first section in the biblical text that was written and redacted and put together, possibly during the Second Temple period. And so Genesis, being the beginning, is put at the beginning intentionally, even though it was written later. There are some earlier texts in the primeval part of the biblical text, or the Tanakh, as you mentioned, and one of those would be the Song of the Sea. However, in Judges, in Joshua, and some of those texts from the early tribal league are much older than Genesis. So here you have a bunch of accounts and stories and metaphors written by different schools of thought. Some of them were addressed to the nation and the people. Some of them were stories passed on orally, and some of them were in retaliation to the surrounding cultures, which Genesis chapter 1 is just that. Genesis chapter 1 was written during the exile to Babylon, and is in direct retaliation to the battle between Marduk and Tiamat in the Babylonian creation story, which I'll post a link to over there. So you can kind of take a look at that. Genesis chapter 1 does not end in verse 31. It actually goes to chapter 2, Genesis 2:3. So it should run, and the way that English splits up chapters at times hacks up the text. So the Genesis chapter 1 to 2:3 was written by a priest in the Babylonian exile or thereabouts, and it's in direct retaliation to the battle of Marduk and Tiamat, the serpent. And what this text does, it takes the violence out of the religion. Here, if you read the chapter 1 of Lamentations, the second chapter of Job, and other texts that were written around that time period, you could see the anguish and the violence that was dealt out on the Israelis, and the disillusionment that they felt. So they need to redo the metaphor in a way that they can understand. So here we have a creation account in retaliation to the Babylonian account with no violence. Here it's saying that the Elohim, or the gods, speak into existence with little or no effort and create a good creation rather than slice and dice. So here you have, it goes through. They didn't really need to be exact on when things showed up, but it was just an example on how God rests in his creation. He says it's good, and he enjoys it on the seventh day. Resting on the seventh day, there's two versions written by two different priestly castes. One was from the Levite, and one was from the Aaronic division, or school of Aaronic priests. So one stresses resting on the Sabbath because God rested here in Genesis 2:3, and the other says that you rest because you were slaves in Egypt, and it was a day to remember them being liberated by Yahweh. So, just some thoughts on that. And 2:4, you have the redaction, which is the older account, starting in 2:5. So 2:4b actually starts the second creation account. And so I just wanted to add that a lot of people, when they fail to read into the literature and understand other forms of the ancient Near Eastern texts and other creation stories, it's very easy to overlook and dismiss. I ended up dismissing Gulliver's Travels for the longest time, till the other day I realized it was a satire. So now I'm going to be rereading that and getting the philosophy and things out of that. So from me to you, I would just suggest, if something on the surface seems a little simple and understated, to go back into that and ask yourself, when was it written, and who was it written to, and why was it written? So you can draw some really important ideas from that and learn from that. So take care, YouTubers. Hope you enjoyed this. Take care of yourself and each other.